everyone, this is Royal Care-Counselling Outreach. This is Rachel, of course, your online counselor. So today we are going to be talking of the ALAKIJAs. Yes, I read on a link, which I wouldn't like to disclose. I read on a link which states that they've been married for 30 years and are intending to divorce themselves. This is where we come in. What could be the cause of them wanting to divorce after 30 years, after nurturing their kids together, after nurturing them from that tender age to adulthood, after passing through infancy, adolescence, then adulthood, after passing through that stage together, after being able to manage each other, and all of a sudden they want to go their separate ways. One, I believe they must have known each other's strengths and weaknesses and have been able to manage their strengths and weaknesses till date. Okay, till the day they decided that they want to go their separate ways. And I believe they must have been communicating, they must have been talking before they decided to divorce. So, what could be the problem that all of a sudden, from the moons, they want to get a divorce? What do you think is the problem? I, as the counselor, will be giving some instances. I am not in their house. I am not in their space. I am not related to them. I don't know. I don't have close relationship with them. I am just using their story as a study view, as a case study. Sorry, I'm just using their case as a case study. Why is it that some couples, after being married for years, after being able to pass through some stress together, once they get older, they realize, okay, we should go our separate ways? One, it might be due to how do I call it? Disagreements on change. I don't know if I'm making a point on that. I have a bad character, or I have an irrational character. Let me use that grammar. Let me use that grammatical word. Let me not use bad. I have an irrational character, and my spouse has been trying to modify my character, that my irrational character, that my irrational thoughts, that my irrational behaviors. My spouse have been trying to modify it to a better one. He has been trying to modify my irrational thoughts, irrational behavior, irrational character. He has been trying to modify it to a more rational one. And on the other hand, I have been feeling, you have been able to manage me all these years. We have been living together all these years. Why are you still insisting on this particular thing? Can't you just let go? Accept me for who I am. There are some people that cannot accept you for who you are, and there are some people that can overlook. That's where individuality comes in. Everybody, we are wired differently. I'm going to use B.F. Skinner as a case study. He's a philosopher. I'm going to use his philosophy, his theory. He has a theory, B.F. Skinner. I'm going to make use of his theory. And in one of his theories, he made use of rats. The rat response to stimulus. Your character or your behavior towards an individual will determine his response to your actions. I don't know if I'm getting this. I'm not here to put the blame on a man or a woman. In B.F. Skinner's theory, he used rats as an example. If you put a meal for a rat, there's a way he responds to the eating of the meal. If you pierce the rat, there's a way it responds. There's always a response to every actions. And there's, of course, at the end of the day, there's always a reward for every action. There's always the consequences for every action. In B.F. Skinner, there's always a reward and a punishment for every response you make to your stimulus. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm using B.F. Skinner to draw a conclusion on couples, I use the ALAKIJA as my case study. But on the other hand, I'm talking of couples who have been married for years, and all of a sudden after 30, 35, 40, in short 20 and above, they decide that okay, oh, it's time, let's go our separate ways. And all of a sudden they decide that okay, we want to go our separate ways. I'm using BF Skinner theory to solve the problem. There are some irrational behaviors, there are some irrational thoughts, there are some irrational talks or trances that a spouse must have been saying to a husband or wife that person has been enduring. There's always an end to a means. Like once you push an individual, you keep pushing. It's said that once the person gets to the wall, the person turns back at you. I don't know what is the cause, but I just analyzed it that there are some irrational behaviors and irrational thoughts and irrational mentality, because irrational behaviors can fall into being rude, being saucy, misbehaving verbally. Characters can mean being saucy to your in-laws, being saucy to people around. As in, irrational means something that is not a pleasant one. I believe I'm talking to adults, so they should understand. So something is unpleasant, and one of the individual or the spouse have been trying to change it to a more rational one, and has been trying to modify it to a more rational one. And once he notices that okay, this individual is not ready to be more realistic in his thinking and ideology and perceptions, if you realize the reward and the punishment comes in thereafter. The reward and the punishment that comes in thereafter is when the second spouse or the first spouse or whoever decide that okay, I want us to go our separate ways, or better still, I want us to divorce. That is the reward for the action. That is the punishment for that irrational behavior. I don't know if I'm making sense. If a child does well, if you give a child in a classroom setting, you are a teacher, you always go in to teach the child, and during exam period, the child responds to the stimulus of all the lectures, all the teachings that have been going on in the classroom, and it comes out in flying colors. At the end of the day, the child is going to be rewarded for his action, for his response to the stimulus, his response to the teachings that have been going on in the class. The child is going to be rewarded. If the child is not rewarded in the school environment, of course, the parents are going to reward the child. If the parents doesn't reward the child, a neighbor might reward the child. What did you get today? What was your average performance? The neighbor might decide to just give the child something. Uncles, aunties might reward the child. The child will definitely get a reward for responding positively to the class teaching. And if it goes the other way and the child fails at the end of the day, the child gets a reward, which is the punishment. The child can be scolded at home, the child can be insulted. That is the reward or the punishment the child is getting. Some parents even go as far as asking the child to go on his or her nails. So in the long run, we will always advise couples to be able to identify where their problems are coming from. You identify your problems, you analyze those problems, you interpret those problems. At the end of the day, you evaluate. That is finding a permanent solution. And if you are unable to evaluate your problem by yourself very well, that is where we, the counselors, come in. We are just a call away. I don't know if I'm making any point. So it is advised that every couple should communicate. Best way to identify your problem is communication. You cannot identify your problems by being mute. You don't talk to your spouse. You don't relate well. Everybody is good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good afternoon. What do you do? You can't identify your problem like that. Or you can't help the person to think. Or you can't say, I thought she was angry with me. You you are not in anybody's mind. Somebody might be looking at you and the person might not be seeing you. What is in the person's head is totally different from what you are thinking the person is saying to you. Don't help your spouse to think. Don't help your spouse to assume. Communication is the key. And of course, we come to the end of today's counseling section. My name is Rachel, your online counselor, and welcome to Royal Care-Counselling Outreach. If you are new here, please don't forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe. And please visit our previous videos. We love you all. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.